are you analyzing the situation right now?
Well, Anne-Marie, just before decision to charge, prosecutors do usually allow the defense team to come in and give them a pitch on why that shouldn't happen. And so if that is what this meeting was, which is sort of what it looks like, then that could indicate that charges are coming imminently, unless, of course, that pitch was successful, which is unusual.
Are we reading too much into this, or maybe speculating too much on this, Rebecca? We've got very basic reporting here. We know that his lawyers were there. We understand they were talking about the classified documents case, or I guess what Donald Trump now calls the boxes hoax. What does that actually tell us?
I think we're reading too much into it. I think the fact that the lawyers en masse appeared at the Department of Justice to have what seems like a meeting on the documents case indicates that this case is winding up, and that prosecutors are likely considering a decision to charge and opening the conversation with defense attorneys at this point, giving them an opportunity to convince the prosecutors that perhaps they're wrong here, they're missing something here. And so I think it is, again, it's always a sort of foolish to try to read the tea leaves, but it does seem as if that this, probably in a matter of, if not days, weeks, that this particular aspect of the investigation is winding to a close.
I think another potential tea leaf, and Rebecca, obviously we want your expertise in this, the former president is exploring options to expand the legal team as he deals in connection with the federal criminal probe. Would you also say that is the former president looking to beef up because he's preparing for a fight?
Especially if he is, as was reported, looking for prosecutors with experience in Washington, D.C., expecting that perhaps those charges, if they're brought, will be brought in Washington, D.C. That could make a lot of sense. So, yes, it's another indication, again, not a guarantee, but an indication that the former president might be considering ways to protect himself, expand his legal team in a situation in which his legal exposure is increasing, and particularly trying to include former prosecutors who have experience in Washington, D.C.
Rebecca, I wouldn't be surprised if we learned about this from the former president, as we did the most recent indictment from New York. But he actually wrote today on Truth Social, "How can the DOJ possibly charge me, who did nothing wrong, when no other presidents were charged, when Joe Biden won't be charged for anything?" We know as well, of course, that Mike Pence will not be charged. We learned that over just the past couple of days, actually. How incumbent will it be upon this Department of Justice or this special counsel, if they in fact bring an indictment, to show the difference between all these cases? Because for most Americans, all they know is all presidents do this.
Right. So, for the legal team, for prosecutors themselves, they don't really see their primary goal as having, sort of public relations aspect. So in the legal arena, in the courtroom, what they really need to do is show intent. And that is, if anything, what is critical about the distinction here between his case and that of the former Vice President Mike Pence or the current President Biden, that at least it appears from public reporting so far that those two were completely compliant and helped the Department of Justice to recover these documents, while potentially the former president might have certainly been more difficult and was perhaps, if he is charged, obstructing the effort. And so that is a key distinction, but it is a key distinction that is somewhat difficult to grasp. And I imagine that in the political arena, Trump does well by bringing in these two instances. And so, you might see, if there are charges, a press conference in which the prosecutors do emphasize that point in order to increase the legitimacy of these proceedings. But how successful that is remains to be seen, because his followers are listening to him, and at least in a common sense sort of way, without the legal nuances, this is probably a pretty convincing line.
Well, Bill Barr, his own attorney general, had put it like this: "I don't think that argument's going to fly." The fact that he says he can declassify them, and he said that this will not, it's not going to fly. He does not think this is going to work for the former president. But this is just one case, and obviously everyone's talking about it because those lawyers were here in Washington, D.C. What's your assessment of what's happening right now about the case in Georgia?
So, again, that timeline looked to me as if I think that Fani Willis said that her timeline looked like August, or at least she announced to the court that she would want increased security during that time, or fewer personnel in the courtroom during that time, indicating that her timeline is late summer. So, it's entirely possible that charges are brought, if they are brought in Georgia, would be later on in the summer. And again, these two proceedings, one federal and one state, can go forward at the same time. So we then could expect to see 3 different prosecutions against the former president.